throws for the end zone. Touchdown. Parker. Picked off by Xavier Howard. Tagovailoa trying to pick up for the fire to the end zone. Touchdown. That hard work.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. And tonight we got a special one. I'm joined by the legends themselves, Sordi of his Fins or Die sporadic podcast, and
Pop-up
Josh
podcast.
Yeah, and Josh Houtz of the Phinsider. How's it going, boys?
Doing great, man. Glad
it's going amazing.
Yeah, it's always a good time, man. It's always a different time now that I can't dab before I go live, but it is what it is. All right, so we'll just get right into it and we'll just go off the cuff from it. All right, so Isaiah Wilson is our hero, and Isaiah, dancing on Benz's, smoking vapes, living the life. Guys, I gotta ask the question: first of all, what did you think of the Isaiah Wilson fiasco? And secondly, did the Dolphins show their hand that they're looking to upgrade the right tackle position?
How should I start?
I was going to let you go, but I was just going to say this whole Isaiah Wilson thing almost seems like, downloadable content in the new Grand Theft Auto game. So it's a crazy situation. I think, the Dolphins, I still don't fault them for making that move. I mean, they took a low risk, low reward chance, to be completely honest. I mean, would they give up a 7th this year? They're getting one back next year. And I think they actually got $1 million in cap space from this. So I don't fault them for making that move, but I mean, it was a swing and a miss. Are they looking to upgrade that right tackle position? I don't know if this move necessarily, says that they are, but I mean, I like what Bob Hunt did last year. I think they could definitely, bring in some upgrades on the offensive line, but this Isaiah Wilson thing's crazy, man. What about you, Sordi?
So I have to admit, Isaiah Wilson gave me the inspiration. I think MetLife TakeOver this year, I'm jumping on a car, get my tits hanging out, bro, just going wild doing the dance. He had a pretty good dance, too. He had some pretty good rhythm for a big guy. But as far as if I think that they really signaled that, like,
can't you just do it anyway?
Regardless. Look, do I think it really signaled that we're hardcore looking for right tackle options? I don't know about that. Houtz, I totally agree. Low risk, high reward. It ends up being low reward, of course. But I think it goes to show that we're looking to make improvements across the line as a whole. Mm-hmm. We saw a dude who was really down in the dumps, down on his luck. A lot of it self-inflicted. Tried to make it work. Of course, that didn't happen. With that being said, I would not be surprised to see the Dolphins make a move at right tackle in the draft this year.
First of all, shout out to Houtz for calling him Bob Hunt. Good old Bobby boy. No, I just asked that question because I don't know if you guys saw, but Tony Pauline, on one of his recent little articles there, he said that if we were to draft Penei Sewell, we'd actually be keeping him at left tackle and kicking Austin Jackson to right tackle. And again, that's another move that would signal, okay, we're kicking Hunt inside. And I know you guys have seen me on Twitter go back and forth with people. I believe Hunt's a guard. I don't think he's a right tackle.
Reason.
Yeah, I know, right? Not me. You guys have seen, I don't think he has the hip flexibility, the lateral movement. I don't think he can handle guys with above average bend. It's like, I don't know who it was that I think his literal last name was Fodder or something like that. Shout out to him for having that last name and living through life. But his last name was Fodder, and he put up all those Hunt clips like yesterday or today. They're all run sets. I'm like, yo, show me something in Pass Pro of this guy doing something. So, I mean, that's the only reason why I posed the question. It's just because there's hints out there that are like, okay, whether it's we draft Sewell and keep him at left tackle and kick Austin Jackson, or Isaiah Wilson, who's a natural right tackle, you know what I mean? There's just hints out there that and plus, I want to be right, but it is what it is. You know what I mean?
What about the Peter Schrager mock draft? What do you think of that?
Oh,
that's
my
Jesus, bro.
Rashawn Slater. I mean, I would rather have Kelly Slater, the freaking surfer, than Rashawn.
Yeah.
Buddy, I'd rather have AC Slater.
I'd rather have Kelly Kapowski, bro.
Yeah. bro. AC Slater at least can run the football, bro. Yeah, I just when I saw that, I was like, is this guy even paying attention?
He is
Like-
awesome, though. He is awesome. I do like him, but I saw that and I was like, Jesus. It took me a little bit to think of the right words to say because that was damn awful. I'd be so pissed if that happened. Charles Harris breaking doors.
Bro, I would be livid if we took him.
And he's
there.
a good player. He's a good player too. But if all this happened to take Slater there, God, oh man, and it'd be so Dolphins, wouldn't it? I mean, this
100%.
is what we've been used to for so many years.
I know
Sorry,
it's
I
not
had to
a
throw
Dolphin.
that.
No. But I got a good question based off of what you just said. I know it's not a Dolphins topic, kind of, but I've been locked in. I think the Bengals are taking Jamar Chase, but wouldn't Rashawn Slater make a little bit more sense than Penei Sewell to the Cincinnati Bengals because they got Jonah Williams, they signed Riley Reif, and Rashawn I think is going to be an interior player at the next level. He's literally got T-Rex arms, so. Wouldn't that kind of make more of a sense for them? I mean, I'm just sitting there saying, So, what are you guys feeling about this draft? Are you guys nervous?
Always, as a Dolphins
Honestly,
fan, I'm always nervous, but I like the situation they're in.
I just how do we fuck this up, man? I don't see any way we fuck this up unless
Just scares me.
Schrager sends some
Rashawn
juju into
Slater.
the world and we take Slater, exactly, or we just draft Caleb Farley, for example. Like that would be atomic bad on Dolphins Twitter. But I don't know how we screwed up, man. Pitt, Smith, Chase, and even Waddle, bro. Any of these offensive weapons can't go wrong in my opinion. I'm definitely Pitt's trained right now, but I'd be happy with any of those dudes.
Isn't it weird that we've basically heard every name except Waddle?
It is. And it's definitely, I mean, I keep thinking about that too. I mean, would it not be the Dolphins thing to go out there and, take Waddle and put him in this offense? I mean, wouldn't shock anybody, but I think like Sordi said, those are the names and how can the Dolphins mess this up? I don't know about you, Reason. I know Sordi, he's on pitch train. I've been I was pretty set in my ways. I thought for sure Devontae Smith was the pick, but the more I think about how the hell can you pass on Pitts, and I mean, you can even make the case for Chase. I mean, I have no issue with any of these guys, but if they somehow F this up, I mean, it'll be hard to ever forgive them again.
I think the scariest thing I saw was again in an article, and I think it was like Albert Breer or again Tony Pauline or whatever, and he said he talked to a scout, and the scout said about Jamar Chase, it's the best pro day I've seen since Braylon Edwards. And I was like, oh my God, do not draft Jamar Chase. Please,
not the best comparison.
You know what I mean? That had me worried. Yeah, I don't know, man. You guys know I was obviously leading the Penei Sewell train, but I'm pretty much like it's Penei or Pitts for me. But this is my theory. They trade back to 12, you trade back up to 6, and I feel like they were kind of okay with the Cincinnati Bengals, they're going to take Chase or they're going to take Penei Sewell, and we're okay with that. I think, but the fact they got ahead of the most wide receiver needy team, the Detroit Lions in this draft, reeks of Devontae Smith to me. It just reeks of Devontae Smith. I mean, I don't know what you guys think about that.
I mean, I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't know if you can sit here and connect the dots because the two is friends, and, the Alabama stuff or, just the season he just put together. I mean, you can sit here and I think it's absolutely ridiculous that people even throw Ted Ginn's name out there. But I mean, you sit there and see what Devontae Smith did. I mean, he can win just doing just about everything. I mean, guys don't stand up, go against him one-on-one at the line because they know they're just going to get beaten, left in a whiff of dust. So I think that there is definitely a connection there. I think, again, that is the pick. I see that being the Dolphins, true target here, but no one knows, and that's what makes this so great. No one truly knows. I think right before the Dolphins pick last year, I think some people had them taking an offensive tackle. Tua was still on the board, and I remember people saying they were going offensive tackle. So no one knows, but if they come away with one of those guys, I'll be pretty damn excited.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure. And to add on to that, guys, Reason, you mentioned how we ensured that we moved up above the Lions, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have TJ Hawkinson already, man. He's an up and coming tight end.
Exactly.
Bro, their starting receivers are Tyrell Williams, Brashad Perriman, and Quintez Cephas. I agree with you. There's a reason why we moved above the Lions, man. But we might view Pitts as a receiver, bro.
I agree.
We might just view him as a receiver. And of course, we know it's a tight end hybrid. Of course, in 12 personnel, he could ball out there. But Yeah, man, the Lions have to be going receiver. I'd be very surprised if they didn't. And we moved above them because we wanted to ensure that we kind of have the cream of the crop as far as the different pass catchers go.
And I mean, it's kind of crazy because, if you want to take a wide receiver like at 3 or in the top 10, usually you want that like Megatron or that Julio athletic profile, right? And the only one who really matches that is Kyle Pitts. No?
Exactly, man.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. And I think if he was listed as a wide receiver, people would feel completely different about him. You can't take a tight end in the top 6. Well, what the hell? This guy isn't a tight end. Just labeling him as a tight end is the fault here. So again, I've been pretty hardcore in thinking that it was going to be Devontae Smith. But how does Chris Greer, how does anybody make that decision to pass on a guy like Kyle Pitts? Because he just seems like a whole different breed.
Let me ask you this, Houtz, because you posted a bunch of all 22 of Devontae Smith, right? When I did my wide receiver big board, obviously I've watched everything Devontae Smith has. Are you like that 170 pounds? A, he's never been hurt. B, it's never really been a problem with him against press. Are we just getting to the point where people are nitpicking on him? Because the guy just won a freaking Heisman, right? The guy's he stems and stacks at a crazy rate. He's got crazy twitch and body control. Literally, he's the best route runner in this draft. And you can make the argument he's a better route runner than Jerry Jeudy. I would be very happy with Devontae Smith at 6. What's your gauge on why people are just like, and I know you saw the picture of him standing next to Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. Bro, him and Justin Jefferson look the same size. They had the same size of legs, right? How do you gauge this, man? Why are people hating on this guy?
To be honest, I think people are nitpicking, and just hearing you go on that rant, it's kind of making me sway back and go with my gut this whole time, Devontae Smith. I honestly feel like that coach in the Waterboy where he's just like rubbing on himself because he's just sitting there preaching about Devontae Smith. How could anybody sit here and be upset with adding that type of talent? So I think it is just nitpicking, and that comes this time of the year. Every season we see it. But Devontae Smith, I'm not concerned about the size because, like you said, he didn't really have those injury concerns, and he went up there and he tore the SEC apart. You can sit here and question whether he can do it in the NFL, but he tore that division apart, and it was awesome to see.
Yeah. Sordi?
Completely agreed, man. He dominated the SEC. What more is there to be said? He's going up against future NFL players there. I'm not concerned about the weight at all. I thought I was for a little, and I got over it very quickly after you just watch more Smith tape and you realize just how good he is, how technical he is as a route runner. Even these dudes could barely press him off the line, bro. He's just so fluid and dynamic in that sense. And it makes me think, and I want to get your guys' take on this too. If Pitts was the target, and you think he's a future Hall of Fame player, I know you're getting the first round pick back, but that's in 2023, wouldn't you think, hey, let me just lock down this dude who I think is going to completely help dominate the offensive side of the ball and give to that safety blanket, right? Why would you take the risk of moving down to 6 if Pitts is your guy? And hey, dude, maybe the Falcons shock the world and take him, right? Maybe the Bengals were to shock the world and take him. Then again, Greer might have intel. He might know that Bengals are going Sewell or Chase. So it's really hard to think in those terms, but I don't know, man. I don't know if I would be willing to trade down and take that risk if you think Pitts is that generational player, which of course brings me back to the fact that Devonta Smith might just be the target all along at 6.
This is our issue, right? We as Dolphin fans, this is the internal struggle we've been going through for 3-4 months now, and it's not going to end till draft day. So who knows, Sordi? I'm with you. Maybe that was their move. And why would you trade back? Why would you risk that if you were hell-bent on getting a Kyle Pitts? Or, maybe I do remember when they traded down, I think it was a report came out that Chris Greer or the Dolphins did believe those first 4 picks would be a quarterback. So in that case, if you're sitting there thinking you're going to either get Kyle Pitts or, Jamar Chase or Devontae Smith, whoever that other target is, they might feel pretty good. But you're right. If they think this dude's a Hall of Famer, why the hell would you trade back? So, and who knows? I've heard people say maybe they trade up. My co-host on the Phinsider said if they really wanted a guy like Jamar Chase or Kyle Pitts, could they trade up with the Falcons? That's a crazy idea to throw out there. Nothing's, off the table, but I don't see anything like that happening.
Yeah, have you guys been watching the Atlanta Falcons Twitter account? They're posting videos of 2 days ago, 3 days ago was, oh, what if we take Justin Fields and a whole breakdown? Then the next day, oh, what if we take they're clearly, the next day was what if we take Penei Sewell? They're clearly trying to dangle that pick. I think you're kind of right, Sordi. I think they knew that somehow, some way, by hook or by crook, it's going to be 4 quarterbacks. And I think they're really okay. I think they're okay at 6 with Pitts or Devontae Smith. And that's what's kind of, I think they know the Bengals are just, they're either taking a tackle or they're taking Burrow's boy. Because I pointed this out before, right? People got to go back all the way back to training camp, the combine last year. Remember what came out of that Burrow interview that basically everyone was, that the media was talking about when they sat down Burrow and he said, I want you to re-sign AJ Green, right? And then what they do, they franchise tagged AJ Green like a few days later. And what's he been doing all offseason? He's been banging the table for Ja'Marr Chase. Ja'Marr Chase, the best player I ever played with. Ja'Marr Chase, the best wide receiver ever in the SEC. Like, you can tell he's trying to get some pull. And, they got T. Higgins, but what else they got? Tyler Boyd? You know what I mean? Like, do they have a Ja'Marr Chase? I don't think so. So, I think, the Dolphins just played it like we think quarterback's going 4, and we think that they're locked in on either a tackle or Chase, and the guys we want are going to be there, because you got to remember too, right? With a GM and a team in their draft board, right? They go horizontally, right? And they usually have multiple players at the pick that they're okay with taking, and they just X them as they get selected before them, right? So I think they're okay with Kyle Pitts or Devontae Smith, and I actually think Kyle Pitts probably made Flores a fan on his pro day. I think Devontae Smith might have hurt himself in that sense. But to if you watch Mac Jones throwing him balls, that boy was out there gliding like a gazelle. And he was running sharp routes too, right? Like he looked 4.4 speed. And here's another thing. And I know y'all have watched Ja'Marr Chase. Guys, Ja'Marr Chase is not 4.38 on tape. Let's not lie to ourselves right now. He is not 4.38 on tape.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
He's like he's like mid 4.4 on tape, right? Like,
can we agree though?
Can
we agree his tape though is pretty much just someone trying to jam at the line? He's just beating the shit out of him. I mean, I was so impressed by him. I mean, some people, I think Omar Kelly say, he looks like a guy that plays 6'4" because he's just this. I mean, he's a bully out there. But does it sounds like you guys don't think Ja'Marr Chase is a target here? Is that correct? Because a lot of people say he has a similar fit to a Devontae Parker, Preston Williams. So, say Ja'Marr Chase and Devontae Smith are there. Kyle Pitts just went off the board. Who are you taking, and who would you take if you were the Dolphins?
You can go ahead first, Sordi.
I'm going Smith, just because he's probably a little more versatile for the offense that we're going to be running this year right now, just because we have DVP on the team. We got Preston. They're not – I don't know if he's a super similar of a receiver as Preston, but he is kind of that DVP mold, right? Like the jump ball guy. He's bullying dudes at the line. I think Smith would better serve the offense right now, especially pairing him up with Will Fuller, who's just such a speedster, just stretching the field. With that being said, man, if we take Chase, I'm still happy. I think he's a great weapon, great target. And I think that would really show that DVP is probably on the out the following year. Like some people are saying, oh, maybe we take Pitts now and then we potentially let Gasicki walk, right? So maybe we take Chase now and then down the line, we just let DVP walk. And I know we have the out next year with his contract. So that's just a thought, but I would personally take Devonta Smith.
So I have Ja'Marr Chase as my wide receiver 4. I have Waddle as number 1. I have Devontae Smith as number 2, and I have Rashad Bateman at 3, and then I have Ja'Marr Chase at 4. Now that's based on what we need, and that was before the Will Fuller signing. The Jalen Waddle, because I think the usage you're going to get out of him on special teams, as a punt returner and a kick returner, and I think he's just a really smart player. Like, you look at the angles he takes, and he got legit 4.27 speed to go with that. You guys have seen on Twitter when I posted the race against Henry Ruggs. But I love Devontae Smith. It's like 1A, 1B for me or whatever. I have. My issue with Ja'Marr Chase is I had Eric Crocker on the show. You guys might have seen him on Twitter. He does Croc Talk. He has his Patreon or whatever. He's a former NFL DB. He played for the Jets, and he played in the Arena Football League. And he put it perfectly for me, and it's exactly what I was trying to tell people. He has problems with press no one talks about. You go look at, he burned Clemson hard in that national championship game, but if you go look and watch every snap, AJ Terrell had his way with him sometimes at the line. And Eric Crocker put it the best. He wins the same way he loses, with that physicality at the line of scrimmage. I mean, he can either get washed out or he can just beat the person, just roll right through them, and then he's gone. Ja'Marr Chase, to me, at least what I saw on tape, like he's not a very good route runner at all. Like, he is not a good route runner. He's an average route runner. So I got issues with that. I think his elite traits come at the catch point. You know what I mean? And I think that's where a lot of the DVP and Preston Williams comparisons come. Like, he's got an elite radius. You know what I mean? He's just elite, high pointing the ball. And he can just win. He can just outmuscle you at the catch point too. But Devontae Smith, to me, is, I see, crazy as it sounds, I see a guy who's more dynamic when the ball's in his hands too. Like Chase, if you watched a lot of his plays, like on short and underneath stuff, he would usually get caught up at the end of it. He'd get his like 12, 13 yards, and then he'd just get snuffed out. Whereas Devontae Smith was making something happen. Waddle was making guys miss and taking it to the house. You know what I mean? And Rashad Bateman, I mean, I saw that 4.39 on tape, especially when he's running slant routes. And I think Rashad Bateman gives you a lot of the same stuff that Ja'Marr Chase does. So, yeah, I'm not as high as people. And you know what worried me about Ja'Marr Chase? Why didn't you come back? Terrace Marshall, with that crappy, shitty LSU offense, raised his draft stock and is now a first-round guy after he ran that 4.38 at 6'3". Why didn't you come back? I feel like he knew, because, you go back to that LSU offense, right, when they had Joe Brady. I mean, they were manufacturing space at a ridiculous rate. Joe Brady, a former wide receiver himself, installing that Saints offense. And we all see, what does Michael Thomas eat off of? Michael Thomas eats off manufactured space, right? It was the same thing with Ja'Marr. I feel like Ja'Marr Chase knew he would have hurt his stock. I really, truly believe that. Now, I say tape over pro days, but his pro day was freaking impressive as hell. There's no denying that at all. I just, I don't know, man. I would be fine with Chase because I trust this offense, but I would take Waddle or Smith over him and Pitts all day.
I'm a Devontae Smith guy, and I think, if Ja'Marr Chase, if he did play last year, we might all be thinking much differently of him, because, recency does kind of play into this, but I will still have, Devontae Smith. I do believe he is that 1A, and, I do believe Chase is 1B, so I do think you're right. Devontae Smith would be that better receiver for what this offense has, but, there's like, you go to an ice cream shop, right? There's a flavor of ice cream for everyone. That's kind of how this is. If you want your Kyle Pitts, which, I mean, that's just the best flavor. I don't know what your favorite flavor of ice cream is, but that's the best damn flavor I think you can get right there. But Devontae Smith is a certain flavor, so is Chase. So how this offense is going to look, I mean, it'll tell a lot by, which pick they ultimately make. Is, no shit as that sounds.
Yeah, I know. And Sordi brought up a name, Will Fuller. And I got to ask you guys, does Will Fuller kind of signal if you don't get it right, Preston and DVP, you're out of here? Because we only signed him for 1 year, which makes me feel like they kind of said to him, like, you perform, we're paying you, because we can't pay you right now because we don't have the money, but we got like 80, 90 million coming through the pipeline next year. DVP has an out in his contract. Preston, this is his final year. And we're adding a guy with legit 4.3 speed, and who last year, before the PED scandal or whatever you want to call it, he proved I can be the Alpha X after DeAndre Hopkins left. So, I mean, do you guys think Will Fuller kind of put our veterans on notice a little bit?
You can go, Sordi.
I do think that Will Fuller is kind of putting a pressure on for them. The Devontae Parker thing is weird, man, because there's some rumor, like I'm sure you guys have seen it. There's some rumors floating around that, like, Greer is like having such a great team builder and stuff, that if we do take a receiver in a draft and, maybe they fit, let's say Devonta Smith, right? We draft Smith and we got Smith, Fuller, Bowden, and maybe we take another receiver in the draft. Like, the rumors kind of flowing out that, like, we might move Parker on draft night, man. As crazy as that would be, like, maybe a team like the Ravens, who could use a receiver, makes a call. We get a third, fourth round pick or something. With that being said, I don't think that's going to happen. I think we go into the season with DVP, Fuller, and Preston. I like Preston. I have nothing against him. Tua definitely had some chemistry with him when he was healthy during the year. I don't think there's any denying that. But with that being said, man, you get 2 season-ending injuries in a row to the lower extremities. The pressure's on, man. The pressure's on. You're an undrafted dude. I know that you have a lot of potential, but you need to stay on the field. You need to be healthy. I could easily see during this offseason, if we bring in like 1 to 2 more receivers, I could see Preston getting cut in training camp. It wouldn't surprise me if we moved on from him, just pending like other players' performances, because you got to keep in mind we have the 2 opt-outs coming back right now with Albert Wilson and Alan Hearns. We also just signed Robert Foster. We have Lynn Bowden, and you got to think we're adding 1 to 2 more guys. So I'm just looking at the room. I'm considering Perry and Merritt
right now. We have
12, right?
It does.
It's insane. It's insane. I don't want 12 right now. I want a little less so I could know the room a bit better. But yeah, the pressure's on. The pressure's definitely on.
I think so too. And, we all sit here and everyone jokes and says Devontae Parker's injury prone. But, what about Preston Williams? Like Sordi said, he hasn't played many games in 2 years. You can't rely on him, just like you really can't rely on Devontae Parker. I think this whole trade rumor came from Peter King. I don't know how much stock we can put into this, but, it's the Dolphins. You mentioned they have 12 receivers. Devontae Parker is arguably that number 1 right now. I guess they signed Will Fuller, which is what we start talking about. But, they have Devontae Parker right now. Maybe they do move him. As for the Will Fuller signing, I sat there. I know Sordi like Curtis Samuel. Everyone had their flavor.
I
Who they
him
like
so bad.
Yes, we all like
I was
Curtis.
so pissed.
It's just like it's the same thing with this draft. We all had our flavor. We all had the player that we preferred, but they couldn't go wrong. And we weren't really talking about Will Fuller. I made a joke that maybe if they trade for Deshaun Watson, maybe they bring in Will Fuller. But they brought him in. He fits exactly what this offense does, and I think, like you said, when he had to step up when DeAndre Hopkins out, he showed that he could be a number 1 wide receiver. And if he can go out there and ball out, like he said, I signed that 1-year deal to prove to teams that I'm not injury prone, to prove that I'm a number 1 wide receiver. If he goes out there and balls out, there's no reason why this can't turn into a long-term deal. I think it was CK Parrott, 3 yards per carry, that said, maybe they're looking at this as a 2-year deal. You franchise tag him next year. So, there's lots of options on the table, but you guys both mentioned it. 12 receivers, they're definitely going to add at least 1 or 2 in the draft. And then they always like to bring in acorns. So let's just see the cream rises to the top and get to us some freaking weapons, and let's see what he can do.
Look at it though. Like, if you go by our, Will Fuller's had injury history, DVP, Preston, Robert Foster, you can go back to Alabama. He can't stay healthy, right? Who else? Like Lynn Bowden, Jakeem Grant's had injury history. Albert Wilson's had an injury history.
They're just going to put all the pieces together, is what you're saying. They're just going to take a limb from this guy and this, and we might round out a six wide receivers.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you guys saw, obviously, the picture of Tua working out with the guys. Like, I think Albert Wilson's going to ball out. To me, Albert Wilson feels like, if he stays healthy, he feels like the prototypical Alabama receiver. You can use him on the boundary, you can use him in the slot, and the guy's got legit 4.3 speed, and he blazes after the catch. Like, I just think he's going to ball out. Like, I just picture this. We draft Pitts, right? And, you say, okay, let's send a speed set out there. 11-man personnel, right? And we put out Gasecki and Pitts in the slot, and then on the boundary, you go Albert Wilson and Will Fuller. How do you defend that? Like, literally, how do you defend that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Clone Xavier Howard. I don't know.
Yeah, I know, eh? You bring up a good point. So on here, I've been talking about this for a little bit. Xavier Howard, bro. We all knew, like, mid-season he wanted more money. Then he went in, and I forget the agent's name, but he went and got that agent that got Paul Soliai and Olivier Vernon paid out of town. All right. We have not even heard a leak about them sitting down and talking about more money. His money became guaranteed a couple weeks ago. Guys, what's your gauge with come on. You think X just said, oh, okay, you know what? I'm good. I don't want the money anymore. Like, what's your gauge on the Xavier Howard situation? Do you think, I know Sordi brought up DVP as a draft day trade. I put this out there. Would you try and dangle Xavier Howard in front of the Dallas Cowboys for that number 10 pick? Because Jerry Jones, he loves big names, and X is 27. His value is never going to be higher than it is right now. He's had knee injuries, right? He's one more knee injury away from, being a pirate on a stump leg. So I mean,
Too far.
and I know I love Xavier Howard. Like I
I'm just
love Xavier Howard, and our whole secondary is based upon that. But aren't you guys worried that we know he wanted money? He got a new agent who's known for getting his players money, and yet we haven't heard a peep?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I mean, and I think, some of us were talking about Xavier Howard trades last year, and he went out there and, like you said, he completely balled out. Should have been Defensive Player of the Year as far as I'm concerned. But you're right. His value right now is at an all-time high. And does Brian Flores, do they think that they can, does Josh Boyer, do they think they can bring guys in here and just kind of execute this system the way they have, years past? So I don't know, but Xavier Howard's one of those, dynamic shutdown corners that, you can't really fault him, I guess, for wanting a new contract when you look opposite of you and you see Byron Jones. And, I know Byron Jones had an off season. I know a lot of people are down on what he did, but I don't know that X would have had so many of those interceptions if Byron Jones wasn't opposite of him. But, when you look over there, you see Byron Jones and you just came down with double-digit interceptions, you're going to be a little upset that you're not at least the highest paid player on your corner on your team. So I do think there's going to be, at some point, this is going to come to a head. And I would rather see Xavier Howard on the Dolphins, but you brought up those injury concerns. And, if you can maximize that value right now, if you get the 10th overall pick, like you said, I mean, that's hard to not pull the trigger on. But I think Xavier Howard, like you said, this defense runs through him.
Mm-hmm.
Josh, you made some great points there, so I'm not going to repeat them all because you took a lot of the words out of my mouth. But just spitballing here, man. Can you imagine if we did get the 10th pick for X? I love X so much, but like you said, he does have the knee concerns. Like we would be remiss not to bring that up. Can you imagine getting the 10th pick and we draft Pitts and Jalen Waddle together and pair them in this offense with Tua, dude? Like everyone's talking about, this is the fuck you campaign for Tua where he shuts all the haters up. Those would be the two dudes that you bring in, and Tua's putting up numbers, bro. So I love X. I want him to stay, but if they're dangling the 10th pick, maybe a little more, I think you got to seriously think about that, dude.
Yeah, and another reason I asked this too is we always follow the Patriot way, we hear. And what did the Patriots try to do after Stephon Gilmore's Defensive Player of the Year? They tried to trade him, and they didn't get the value they wanted. Number two, have you guys seen the list of prospects we've interviewed? Have you guys seen that list yet or no?
I have not. I haven't either. I've been trying to look for it, and I remember I used to look at Walter Football, and he'd have all of them, and I think I went on there, and I didn't see shit.
Okay, so I have the list. I gotta find it here on my thing because I've actually covered it on. But anyways, let's see if I can bring it up for you guys. Okay, here I got the list for you right here. I'll bring it up. Give me a sec. Anyways, once you look at this list, and this list is from like a month ago, so obviously more players are probably added to it. But there's a recurring theme that I'm gonna show you that kind of made my eyebrows raise a little bit here. So here is the prospects interviewed. All right, this is before the pro days. So obviously Rondell Moore, Asante Samuel Jr., Elijah Molden, right? You keep going down. Ifatu Melifonou from Syracuse, another corner, right? Another corner, Thomas Graham from Morgan, Trill Williams, another corner, Demadre Lenore, another corner. There's a lot. If you look at this list, I'll zoom out so you guys can take it in full. Yeah. There's 6 corners on this list. And here's my thing. Asante Samuel Jr., before his pro day, was a 2nd-round pick. Now there's talk about a high 2nd, late 1st. Greg Newsome, who I actually my top 5 corners are J.C. Horn, Caleb Farley, then Greg Newsome, then Patrick Surtain, then Asante Samuel. And Greg Newsome, there's a lot of talk about him going, in the top 20 right now because he's climbed so many boards. There are legit, Elijah Molden. At worst, I see him going in round 3. They're talking to legit corners here. And why? When we added Noah Benogany, corner's the one position we don't need to add to. And yet, they're doing their due diligence.
It makes you wonder, man.
Yeah, and this is kind of Brian Flores' way, right? But you're right. There has to be something there. Would any of us be surprised if they drafted a corner? That's just Brian Flores for you. But these, like you said, are pretty premier names that they'd have to use, top draft value on. So definitely something here. I guess we'll see.
Yeah. All right. So we talked about Will Fuller, but in general, did free agency satisfy you?
I wasn't upset with it. I mean, I guess I went into it with, kind of low expectations, or just kind of, you knew what the Dolphins needed to do. I think they got better at, almost every position that they brought in talent. I think the center position, they tweaked that just a little bit. I think they got an upgrade there, but they'll definitely turn towards the draft. And then I love the linebacker signing, Will Fuller as well, bringing him in. So there was a lot to like, but I mean, I wasn't sitting here, over the moon excited for it. I was just kind of, it took a couple of days, didn't it? I mean, I think we were all sitting here after day 1, day 2, we were like, what the hell are the Dolphins doing?
So I wasn't, Josh, I agree. I wasn't disappointed, but my expectations were way too high, dude. I remember day 1, I was like, nah, man, we don't need Galladay. We're good. We're good with Samuel. I'm even good with Juju. I'm good with Fuller. Then another day went by. And then who was the first wide receiver signing again? Aguilar signed. I was like, we didn't need Aguilar anyway.
Corey Davis.
Yeah,
Corey Davis
we don't need Corey Davis. Then it's like, fuck, we need Galladay, bro. Bring Galladay in.
Yeah. Kenny!
Yeah.
Kenny! Yeah.
In the beginning, I was like, yo, let's get Galladay and Curtis Samuel. Let's double down. Why not? Then at the end, I was praying for one wide receiver. And luckily, we signed Willard to the 1 year. If we didn't sign any wide receivers, we would have been having major problems on my end. We got Fuller. I'm happy there.
I don't know what that means. I'm so curious which end and not.
I would have sent a strongly worded tweet, bro. That's what would have happened.
Okay.
But
he would have got blocked by the Dolphins account like the NFL draft account did him.
Yeah, right. And Gil Brandt, throw him in there too. But overall, I'll take it. It was kind of like average. It was like Josh said, it was kind of meh. I'm okay with it. I wasn't like super happy. I wasn't super underwhelmed. Now I'm just looking at the draft and hoping we fill a lot of holes and really make it work here.
Yeah, I was like really up and down with that receiver position because you saw Corey Davis and Aguilar get the type of money you got, and you're like, oh crap, what's Curtis Samuel and all these other guys asking for? And then Juju signs for like $8 million. What did Samuel sign for again? It wasn't even that much. Wasn't it like $8 or $9 million as well?
It was reasonable.
It didn't seem like a lot. I just can't believe they're all those weapons that Ryan Fitzpatrick's getting, and we're just sitting there just waiting for Tua to get. I was like, they're fucking building around this 70-year-old fossil, and the Dolphins are struggling to bring in, Will Fuller, a guy that many of us even forgot about.
Let me ask you this, Houtz. Because I had a few people tell me behind the scenes it was because we were working on a Watson deal. Do you think they came close to pulling the trigger before those allegations hit?
I mean, I really don't know, and it kind of feels even kind of dirty to even speculate right now. But I think what the way we saw the free agency play out, just the way the Dolphins kind of approached this offseason. I mean, I love Tua. I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way, but I do think the Dolphins genuinely had interest in Deshaun Watson, and we still see the reports now that they might still be calling, which don't know how true that is. But I do think the Dolphins did have a little interest. Whether or not they were that close to making a trade, I don't know.
Yeah. What were your thoughts, Sordi, on do you think because of the lack of movement, they were kind of closing in on Watson?
Personally, from my perspective, I think it's hard to imagine that they didn't have interest. It was very sketchy. After a couple of days started passing, it was getting kind of sketchy, just the fact that it was the lack of moves, and a lot of the signings were like very low contract depth players like Ethan Carter, for example, were signing as a fullback tight end hybrid, bro. I was like, what are we doing? You don't like
this Ethan Carter? You're not drafting him in fantasy this year?
Not fantasy this year, no. He's not one of my guys. But I'm going to say like a firm yes that I think we were in on. I think we were in on Watson. Like the negotiations were probably happening. And who knows, man? Maybe they uncovered that like sketchy shit was about to pop up, and maybe they moved away. Maybe the negotiations got too high as far as how many picks they wanted. But I'm happy with the way it turned out. I'm happy we're building around Tua. I would rather build around Tua on the rookie contract and really, really mold him into the franchise QB that I think he could be.
If we go backstage, I'll share with you guys exactly what I heard because I heard from multiple people. But I can share this. Apparently, we were waiting for the new year to open up. That's what it was, and the new year started on day 1 of free agency.
So that's what I heard.
Makes sense.
I hate to talk about it because it's such a touchy subject, but would it not have been so Dolphins to pull the trigger and then have all this,
I know, eh?
Dude.
It's just
Oh.
crazy. So, I mean,
you know what I was saying to people behind the scene? I was like, yo, it's going to be Dolphins. We trade for this guy and he tears his ACL again. And then we're stuck here with what? Reed Sinnett? You know what I mean? So,
Jesus God.
It would be rough.
But the one thing we did do, which was surprising to me, was like we added a ton of depth in the front seven. The McKinney trade was huge. We brought back a Landon Roberts, the Jordan Scarlett. We brought in Jordan Scarlett. We brought back Vince Beagle. We brought in Adam Butler. We were pretty close to what's his face, that other Patriot defender, Lawrence Guy. Guys, like it looks like they've identified the run. I gotta ask you this question. Now, this is all like X days, right? So with how we've kind of identified the run leakage being a problem and how stout we've tried to make ourselves in the front seven, and we still have the draft to go here where they could add another edge rusher. They could add a defensive tackle late. They could also add another linebacker. Do you guys expect this defense to take a step forward? Because historically, top 5 scoring defenses usually regress the next year. Now, don't drop to like 15 or 20th, but they regress like from 5 to like 8 or 9 or whatever. Do you guys expect this defense to take a step forward this year because of already what they've done to the front seven?
This is a tough one for me. I don't know if I expect them to take a step forward. Of course, I'm absolutely hoping they do. But like you said, like we really beefed up the front seven, bringing in Adam Butler, for example. It seems like we're going to be a team that's definitely harder to run against for the first time or second time in I don't know how many damn years it's been as a Dolphins fan, where we just get absolutely shredded by the likes like back in the day of Chris Johnson just coming in and completely eviscerating us in the run game. We have a little bit of a tougher schedule this year, I know too. So, and you mentioned reason they do tend to regress. I don't want to say we overachieved too much last year. I guess it's a kind of cop-out answer, but I'm kind of expecting us to kind of stay around the same positioning as far as the different metrics go for our defense. I'm absolutely hoping we take the step forward, but I'm not too convinced just yet. I really need to see who we take in a draft and how the draft pans out.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I feel. I think, this team did play very well last year, and I keep joking, as a Dolphins fan, just, I don't know, maybe it's just the way I approach this thing, but I always just think the most negative outcome. I keep joking Dolphins are going to be 10-7 and make the playoffs this year. I mean, so do I think this defense will somehow be better than, how well they looked last year? I mean, like Sordi said, I think they're going to be right around there. I would go as far as saying they will regress, but, if they regress and that offense plays better and plays like we expect them to, it doesn't matter. I mean, we can sit here and everyone hypes up the defense, but Matt Barkley, Josh Allen, they tore that shit apart in week 17. That was the reason the Dolphins didn't make the playoffs. So, yeah, that's what I had to say about that. I love the signings, though. I mean, Benardrick McKinney, that's a huge trade there. I like Shaq Lawson, but I think, what he brings to that middle of that defense, that's big. But I don't know about you, Reason, but are there any edge rushers in this class that you like? Because I do think that the Dolphins still need that speed off the edge. I mean, I know they got Andrew Van Ginkel, they got some internal guys. Jerome Baker looked good last year. They got Vince Beagle coming back, but I still feel like they're just missing a little bit. Jalen Phillips might be a little bit too rich for some blood, but is there anybody in this class that interests you?
I love Azeez Ojulari from Georgia. I did my edge big board last week. I dropped it, and I had Ojulari as my number 1. I had Jalen as number 2 because I wasn't looking at the concussion issues he has. I was looking at talent straight on the field, but it did hold me from putting him at number 1. If he didn't have the concussion issues and he didn't have to medically retire when he was at UCLA, Jalen Phillips to me would be number 1. Jalen Phillips is a freaking monster. I also like Joseph Asai out of Texas a whole hell of a lot. I think Kwity Paye is a solid. And here's a sleeper for you guys. I don't know if you've heard his name. Ronnie Perkins from Oklahoma. I think he's a perfect scheme fit for what we want to do. But when you're talking about speed off that edge, man, I think Azeez Ojulari and Jalen Phillips, that's the way to go, man. And, boys, this is why I wanted us to get Aaron Jones. I wanted us to get Aaron Jones, not because I think he's a premier back entering his prime, but also because now at 18, what do? Have we pigeonholed ourselves right now to where Najee has to be the pick? Because I don't know if you guys saw, but on that Schefter podcast, he said, yeah, he enjoyed his exchanges with us, but apparently the Bills and the Steelers have been hitting him up hard. And McDermott warned us after the end of their season where he said, we're going to upgrade the running back room, right? And, adding Najee to that offense, that is a scary thought, all right? Like, I was the only guy in the world last year, and I got hated on it in the comments. Oh, you're a Bills fan. Oh, you're this. Oh, you're that. When I said, yo, this Stephon Diggs trade is huge. I called Josh Allen taking the step forward last year. I did. And the receipt is out there. And adding Najee, oh my God. And like, it's like, let's say Najee goes to the Steelers because he's a prototypical Steelers guy. Then what do? Then Javonte Williams probably goes to the Bills. And let me hit y'all with one thing too. Arizona, as bad as they need a corner, do you really think they're rolling with Chase Edmonds this year? Nah, I think Travis Etienne could be the surprise pick there. And we all know the Dolphins loved Etienne last year before he decided to go back, and Stoodsville was running the drills at Clemson for Etienne this year, right? At the pro day. So like, I wanted Aaron Jones so we could get that sorted out, and at 18 we could take an edge rusher. Like, let me hit y'all with this. What if Parsons drops to 18?
I'm probably pulling the trigger, but I think then you get in that same situation, like you said. Can they sit there and wait till 36 to hope that Etienne falls or the hope that Williams is there? I mean, once Najee goes, I mean, someone's going to get a little bit, happy feet. And if the Dolphins again, I mean, after last year, I was pretty pissed off when they passed on running back. If they do it again this year and they don't get Etienne or one of the Harris or Williams, I think we should all riot. So if they don't get him in 18, they better find a way to move heaven and earth to get that guy, whenever they can. And I keep being reminded of this. There is that 5th-year option with those running backs in the first round. So is it possible the Dolphins could trade back up and get a guy if they like him? I mean, anything's possible, but I'd be extremely pissed off if they somehow passed on that. And, maybe that is a reason. I really wasn't even thinking about that with the whole Aaron Jones signing. I mean, yes, he's a prolific player, but if you would have signed him, then that gives you a whole sorts of room to make these decisions. So Dolphins are in a predicament, and I don't know if I truly believe that Chris Grier and the Dolphins can solve this running back position the way that some of us expect, at least.
Yeah, it's tough for me because for the longest time, and I think I'm like not too much of a stubborn person, but this one I'm really stubborn about. I was always team no running back in the first round. Like, it's always something I believed in. But I've really been reflecting on this lately. And man, we just have not had that bell cow feature workhorse running back since the one season of Jay Ajayi where he just completely tore it up for those 200-yard games. And that season was so fun having a dude. Yeah, exactly. J-Train having a dude who that we're gonna fuck. He's gonna tote the fucking rock.
And Tannehill had his best season when Jay Ajayi got the rock going. But anyways, I digress. Go ahead.
Absolutely, bro. It just relieves so much pressure on the QB, man, to be able to have a dude who's just going to pound the rock, get those 4, 5, 6, 7-yard runs and so on, break off a big one after you start feeding him the ball. So I guess, like, long story short, I'm leaning more so to running back being the choice at 18. But I would have to imagine if we do go like Pitts at 6, Smith at 6, and then running back at 18, we're probably not addressing the offense again until like the 3rd, 4th round. I think we would use like the other picks in a second for some defensive players. Maybe we take BPA edge at 35. Maybe we do take one of those cornerbacks you mentioned, Reason, like in the 2nd or 3rd round, just to get some more depth at that position, because we know Flores loves the secondary, of course. So I'm probably leaning more so to running back in the 1st round right now. Listen, if we miss out on Najee, I'm cool with Javonte. I think he's a beast. I'm even cool with Etienne. I think he's a great player. I know he really tore up the ACC compared to some of the other conferences he played against, so that worries me just a little bit. But then I hear the Etienne comparisons to Alvin Kamara, and I'm like, all right, man, like, let's just take him and see what happens,
Yeah.
Would any of those backs be better than, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but hearing those names, would this not be the best back this team has had, maybe since Ricky Williams himself? I mean, these are some pretty, top-notch prospects that we're talking about. I mean, I heard on that same podcast that you mentioned, Reason, they were I think Schefter said that Najee Harris was compared to, Adrian Peterson. I just can't get that out of my head now. He's built in a lab. He can do a little bit of everything. I mean, at 18, that just seems like a home run pick. But if they get Rashawn Slater at 6, we'd all be pissed off.
Yeah, I know. And Javonte runs like Ricky, kinda.
He does.
And what's scary is they both had this. I think he had a 4.57, and Ricky ran like a 4.56. So, but here's the thing, boys. You go back to that, and first of all, you think of the flexibility you would have had at 18. My OT2 might be sitting there. Tevin Jenkins, natural right tackle. You could have taken him as well. So all the flexibility at that 18th pick is out the window, I think, because of the running back situation, unless they trade back up into the 20s with that 36 pick. But look at this for a sec. Again, follow the breadcrumbs. Y'all saw, I believe, when Najee was on Pat McAfee, right? Was it Pat McAfee Najee was on? I think he was on Pat McAfee.
I think he was on McAfee, yeah.
Yeah. Did you hear what Najee said, though? Najee said he got to read our playbook. And he said it was a lot of the same stuff that they were running at Alabama, just different terminology, right? Which obviously happens with different coordinators. But what does that tell us? That RPOs and screens are going to be heavily involved here. And the thing is, we need a specific back with that because, I mean, okay, Gaskin is the perfect complementary guy. Right, Malcolm Brown is a third down. I forget who I had. I had Ben Albright on here, and he said he's just like that old running back Horde who his coach used to go to him. Hey, I need 2 yards. Hey, coach, I'll get you 3. Hey, I need 4 yards. Hey, coach, I'll get you 3. You know what I mean? Like that's what he is, right? So, we need a guy who can catch out of the backfield, and we need a guy who can hit the holes and gain it on the ground, and that's Najee. And Houtz brings up a perfect point with the first year. Think about this, boys. Najee's 23. You get that 4-year and the 5th-year option. He's 28 by the end of it. If he's balling out, you franchise tag him for 1 year, so you only pay him for really 1 year. Then he hits 29 going on 30, you let him walk. And you say, thanks for coming out. I don't need to re-sign a 30-year-old back to a bunch of money. See ya. And you go through the process again. So I don't know, man. I think they've kind of pigeonholed themselves. And what worries me, Houtz and Sordi, is last year the arrogance of them thinking one of those guys was going to drop to 56 or wherever we picked there. You know what I mean? Like they were clearly arrogant, and J.K. Dobbins, who we all know they had their radar set on, he didn't fall. So I mean, can they afford, did they learn their lesson where it's like, because Albright came on here and one thing he said to me, the Dolphins, from what he understands, are a team that believe they're not reaching if they take a player they like. So if we view the player as like a guy you can get in the late 20s, like a la Austin Jackson, they don't believe they're reaching if they take him at 18 because they like him.
I like that mentality. I think it should be like that, dude. Have the conviction to get the guy you want. Fuck all the people in the media who are going to say it's a reach, all that bullshit. If you think the dude's going to be a difference maker on your team, take them. But Reason, you bring up such a great point, bro. And I just want to kiss you right now because you're so right. Like the fucking arrogance that it felt like Greer had, just thinking that a running back would be able to fall to him. And I was getting in some arguments on Dolphins Twitter about how I didn't think Greer was a good drafter at the running back position. And my original position was that he was not good at it. And then I reflected a bit and I said, you know what? He's actually pretty decent at drafting a running back, but he never takes them, man, because he never has the conviction to get a dude high in a draft. But when he takes a guy, it's in like the 5th, 6th, 7th rounder undrafted. He finds a guy like Gaskin, for example. So basically where I'm going with this is I don't know if Greer really has like the respect built up right now where he could be willing to wait on a back at 35 and hope a dude falls and it doesn't happen again. And then we're in a really shitty spot where we either genuinely actually have to reach on a running back, like, I don't know, like Carter or Gainwell, for example, in the second, right? Because if the running back start running and teams need a running back, they'll take those dudes earlier than you think. So then we might have to have a true reach there. But yeah, man, I think with this year, we maybe we are pigeonholed at 18 and we got to make the move at running back just because Greer got a little cute last year, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you hate to make the comparisons to New England, but is it possible that the Dolphins and Chris Greer and Brian Flores, they just don't value this position as much as some of the other positions on the roster? I mean, you mentioned Myles Gaskin. A lot of people are down on him. He averaged 4.1 yards per carry last year. I mean, I don't know what the hell else more you wanted from. He's a perfect complement to a guy like Najee Harris, like you said, Javonte Williams. So I do think that, like I said, I'm a little concerned that Chris Greer can't make this. Can't execute this and get that running back like you both have said. I mean, last year we saw him completely whiff, and then what did they do? They traded for Matt Breida. They didn't even use him. I mean, they traded for a guy who's the dynamic, the fastest player in the NFL, and they didn't even give him the ball. So I don't have conviction or trust that they're going to go out there and get this right, but it's definitely a great point that you bring up. They might be pigeonholed at 18 because I don't think you can wait to 36. I mean, if you could guarantee me Javonte Williams at 36, I mean, sign me the F up. I'd give you all day. I mean, that would be the perfect draft. You get whoever you want at 6. You then, like you said, you get whatever you want at 18, honestly, and then you go there and you get that running back who, again, he's 20 years old. Can't even drink a beer. He'd be the perfect complement there, but there's no guarantee. And, some people think Javonte Williams could be that Clyde Edwards-Helaire that kind of goes first, kind of shoots up those draft boards. So I don't know, but I'm a little worried about this. And I think we can all agree, though, that the Dolphins have to come out of this with one of those backs. And I think it was Barry Jackson in one of his Nugget articles. He kind of said, they are going after a 3-down back. They are going after one of these top prospects. So I don't know which one it is. I don't think any of us truly do, but I think we all three can agree, it has to be one of those 3 top guys because they effed this up last year. They can't do it again.
Like, I'm a Gainwell stan. But for me, when I look at it, it's like you got Najee and Javonte, then you got Etienne and Gainwell. But then when you start getting into like the Michael Carters and the Sermons, they're like down here. You know what I mean? They're not the same. And I've said this before. I think Michael Carter is a souped up version of Myles Gaskin. And, I don't doubt Gaskin because he can. There were seats out there last training camp. I literally called Gaskin winning that job and kicking Kalen Ballage's ass out of town. And good God, it happened, and I was so happy when Kalen Ballage was gone because Kalen Ballage, I have a saying, right? I have a saying, give me football players that are athletes. I don't want athletes trying to be football players. And that's exactly what Kalen Ballage was. The guy's got vision like he's got cataracts in both eyes, bro. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't happening with him. But I'm really worried, boys. Well, not worried because I think it could work, but they might sit around and say, you know what, we can get Michael Carter at 51, right? Or we get Gainwell at 51. So, I mean, we'll see how, because I think Gainwell would flourish in this system.
They did coach Carter at the Senior Bowl. That was an interesting nugget there. And I think that was all I was going to say. I was going to say something about Gaskin again. Maybe I think he was on pace. Irving Figueroa in the comments said, 584 yards, 3 touchdowns, and only 142 touches. So, again, if he wasn't out with injury, I think he was on COVID, the list for a little bit there. This guy was on pace for 1,000 yards. So let me ask you guys, Eric Studsville, is kind of the guy that, developed Myles Gaskin, kind of believed in him, kind of gave him this role. Is it possible that the co-offensive coordinator believes in this guy, thinks that he could be, I don't want to say a 3-down back because I don't think any of us think that, but do you think that they could have more, could they be more confident in what Myles Gaskin can do than maybe the Dolphin fan base?
Yeah, because if you put on his collegiate tape, and that was the whole reason, like, I believe I did that show with EM Dolphin Fan, and before we had started the show, I said to him, I said, yo, man, I dove into Gaskin's college tape last summer just because I was bored sitting around on quarantine. I was like, yo, this man can move the rock, and he runs like he's like 210, 215 pounds. Like, he runs like a bruiser, even though, he's a short little stout package guy, but man, I you could be right, man. You could be 110% right. That's why they might say, oh, we're not reaching in the first 3 picks on a running back.
I hope I'm wrong. I do hope I'm wrong because, it would suck. But, that's something that as a Dolphins fan, I'm prepared for because, like I said, Gaskin's young. We're seeing the development there. And if he played full 16-game season, I truly believe he would have hit 1,000 yards. And I think a lot of fans and, even the media would have been a lot higher on him than they are right now.
But aren't you guys just ready for them to be aggressive? Like, draft your guy at 6, please. Draft a guy at 18, and then move back up and get your running back. Like, get ahead of the Steelers, get ahead of the Bills, and go get your running back. Like, show some balls this draft. You know what I mean? We're in a way different situation than we were last year. Now we are on the cusp of becoming a contender. Like, go get your guys, like what Sordi said earlier, man. Like, it's not this time to like play patty cake. And one thing I hate when you're in this position is letting the board settle your pick for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we ended up with Austin Jackson. All right. And that's why we ended up having to trade back, because from what we understand, they wanted Cesar Ruiz, but he went the pick before. So they traded back. And that's the thing. God bless you. I love you. I think your ceiling is going to be high, Noah Benogany. But we drafted that guy 2 years too early, in the sense of we took a project at that position when we had Byron, we had X, we had Needham who could come out on the boundary. You know, we had McCain who could play in the slot if you needed him to. Like, we passed on Antoine Winfield at 30, and we passed it on the whole running back class basically for Noah Benogany.
So you didn't like that workout video today then? Is that what you're saying?
Oh my God.
That was impressive as hell.
Yeah, I mean, it hurt me watching him do that.
I just hope he doesn't turn into one of the Jakeem Grant situations where every year I get a workout. MVP. Yeah, bro. And then come the game, it's like, what is this guy doing? So
if it gets to year 6 and that's what we're still hoping on with Benogany, then I think, it's time to jump off the ledge.
Yeah. So, I mean, I got to ask you guys this question, because this was a huge thing on Dolphins Twitter yesterday. Why does the media give Sam Darnold a pass after 3 years? Year 2, he's seeing ghosts, while 2 after 9 games, everyone wants us to move off him, and 2 in his whole career hasn't seen a ghost, spook, or specter. Why in your mind, why is Tua not getting this pass that guys and gals are giving to Sam Darnold?
Go ahead, Sordi.
Reason.
No fucking clue.
Where is Hard Rock Stadium, bro?
Miami.
What is it built on top of?
It's the Indian burial ground.
It's built on the ancient Indian burial ground. Yes, it's built on tainted land, bro. So don't say that Tua Don't say that Tua isn't seeing ghosts, because we don't know that, man. There's some spirits and demons in that stadium, that's for sure. But to get into the media bullshit, you know what it is, man? People don't care about what's going on in Cincinnati, Ohio, right? They don't care what's going on up there. Burrow got injured. He's old news. They're not really focused on him. Herbert had a good season. He looked really, really good on certain occasions. He made a couple boneheaded throws, but overall he did look really good. And then you have Tua in the rookie class too. He's the only other guy who really saw any significant time. And the only game that the national media saw was a Raiders game on that Saturday night, where Tua got benched for Fitz, and Fitz had the face magic play, and then
check down to Gaskin.
And it bro,
fucker.
65, whatever it was. Like, everyone, that game, everyone else is doing the workaround. It's a miracle throw. They win. So I truly think that they honestly haven't seen enough. I genuinely think they haven't watched enough Tua games to know how good he is. Like, where was all the praise after his game against Kyler in Arizona, dude? Where Kyler wouldn't even shake Tua's hand after the game because Tua shit on his chest, dude. You know what I mean?
Cleveland Steamer? Nice.
Yeah, Cleveland Steamer. And was that in Miami? Yeah, that game was in Miami.
No, wasn't it in Arizona?
Wait, where was it? I don't know.
It was in Arizona because we were in the whites.
Gotcha. I think it was Arizona. He dropped a deuce either way right on his chest.
Yeah, either way, right on the chest in Arizona on the road. If that game was a primetime game, I do think the narrative would be a little different. But either way, man, they need someone to pick on. Tua's the guy just because of the whole benching thing. I get it, man. We were a team that could have potentially made the playoff push, and we were close. So Flores had to carefully make his decisions for the best of the locker room to give him the best chance to win. I didn't really agree with the benching in the Denver game. But, yeah, man, the media needs someone to pick on. It's Tua. Let's just hope he shuts the haters up this year, and then they just stop with it because it's really annoying now.
Yeah, I think he will shut them all up and look a lot like the quarterback that we all fell in love with there. I do think you're right. Justin Herbert having that season that, let's be honest, many people didn't even project him to ever have a season that well. I mean, this guy went up there and did above and beyond everyone's expectations. Joe Burrow, if he was healthy, I mean, would they be sitting there saying they should trade for Deshaun Watson? They should draft a quarterback? I mean, that's the $1 million question here. I have no idea why someone would sit there and say, Sam Darnold deserves some more time with another team, and then sit there and say, in the same sense, if at 6-3, Tua Tagovailoa didn't deserve at least another season here in Miami. I think we give these quarterbacks, such a short leash here. I do think, as fans, we sat here and, I know I 100%, love this trade or love signing to it. I was hyped up as all hell. We were all sitting here thinking this was the most promising this fan base, this Dolphins team has ever looked. I mean, is it because we hyped him up so much that, everyone else kind of, is kind of shitting on him? I mean, that's to me the only reason I can come with it, because if you sat there and you watched Tua Tagovailoa play football last season, there's no way you came to the conclusion that his career is anywhere near over. I mean, if you build this team around him, I think good things will come. And again, I think it's going to be a lot like that Tua that we saw against Arizona, a lot like that Tua that we saw, statistically it wasn't great against New England, but he went out there and he took that game over. I mean, we sat there and we continue to hear, Bill Belichick, oh, he never lost to a rookie quarterback. Well, fucking, he lost to Tua Tagovailoa. I don't give a shit if he threw for 80 yards. He lost to Tua Tagovailoa. So let's give Tua a full offseason to get healthy, while everyone else was sitting there getting ready for the draft. Tua was rehabbing an injury, like I said before, that many people thought was going to put him in the freaking ground like the Undertaker. So let's see what he can do this season. Let's build around him. And again, I think Tua is going to be that quarterback that all of us Dolphin fans fell in love with last year. And I can't wait to just scoot my ass across the carpet like a cat, just rubbing in all these analysts' faces when Tua does exactly what we expect.
And I mean, Herbert for a sec here, bro, he had, look at Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry, Austin Eckler, Mike Williams. He had Pep Hamilton, who helped groom Andrew Luck at Stanford. And then when he came to Indianapolis, he made that Indianapolis offense a top 5 offense in the league. All right. So that guy's been around. He had Anthony Lynn, an offensive-minded first coach. Now Herbert has to learn a whole new playbook. That coaching staff is gone. All right. He's got to learn the terminology. Hunter Henry's gone. Herbert might actually be stagnant or regress a little bit this year because it's a whole new thing. And he's got a defensive-minded coach on top of that. And you bring up a perfect point, Houtz. That New England game, not enough people talk about that, okay? That showed the moxie of this kid, all right? He made that mistake early on the bad throw to J.C. Jackson. Later on in the game, what does J.C. Jackson do? Fills up the passing lane, and what does Tua say? He pump fakes, says, "You fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. I don't think so." Tucks it, runs, and he drags that 330-pound lineman Colvert into the end zone with them, and he put up 14 points with his legs. If you take away those 14 points Tua put up, we lose that game. All right? And then, he almost brought us back against KC. And this is where I'm going. Joe Burrow. Him and Joe Burrow had almost the exact same stats, all right? He actually had a better quarterback rating, and he had less turnovers before that Buffalo game than Joe Burrow did. And Joe Burrow went out and tore every letter in the alphabet in that knee, but no one wants to talk about Joe Burrow needing to be replaced. And this is what I don't get. Joe Burrow may never be the same again because part of his game was predicated on that sneaky athleticism he had because he was a basketball player before. So that was a big part of his game. He did at LSU as well, right? So, but that's what I've said. Why do I not hear Cincinnati needs to take a quarterback? Because their guy's on the shelf. Our guy isn't, right? And, and another thing, this benching bullshit. Bro, John Elway was benched in his rookie season for 3 games, and he only came back because of an injury to the starter. So, I mean, what, should Denver have moved off him in year 1? I don't get, I do not get where these people are coming from. It's absolutely asinine and idiotic. And Sordi nailed it. The only reason he got benched in that Oakland game was because we were in a playoff race. If you go look at Tua, he was actually the most efficient. I have the numbers. Shout out to Smart Guy. He was the most efficient in the 4th quarter. That's when Tua shined. Not only no huddle and hurry up offense and 12-man personnel, but here's a perfect example. You know how, guys, you can go see my live reaction because I live react to every game. When he got pulled and Chan Gailey decides, okay, now I'm going to expose Gaskin on Raekwon McMillan. Why were you not doing this with Tua in the game? It almost felt like Chan Gailey was, oh, look at my shiny toy, what I can do with this 40-year-old guy, my boy. Look what I can go out and do with them. I don't know, because I posed this question to my people in the comments and the people I had up here, all right? Name me a quarterback Chan Gailey has developed in his entire career, because I believe Fitzpatrick had 26 or 27 career starts before he went to Chan Gailey. You can't. He hasn't developed one guy. Why were we expecting him to develop Tua Tagovailoa? Just wasn't going to happen. And I just don't get why. Like, perfect example, that Arizona game we talk about. Why don't enough people talk about that on the sense of almost all of his weapons were healthy, and guess what? Godsey was the one calling the plays, not Chan Gailey, and look what happened.
Balled out.
Saying.
And can we mention, dude, in the fourth quarter of that Cardinals game where you said Tua plays the best, he leads a 93-yard, 10-play scoring drive, man, to tie the game with the Cardinals. Like, this kid has the clutch gene, and I really wish that we gave him more time in the Denver game specifically to make something work. Maybe open up the playbook a bit, like you said, how kind of Godsey calling the plays in the Cardinals game really opened things up, right? It gave Tua the confidence to make these throws and to really like let himself shine, right? It seems like he like shed the shackles a bit that kind of Gailey was holding him back. And I don't want to be negative here because there's a lot of optimism for the future, right? And I don't want to like rehash old things, but what did Flores see in the hire of Gailey, Reason? That was the first thing I kind of thought of when we first hired him. The immediate thing I did was look at all the QBs he coached before, all the QBs that played under him. And like you said, the most relevant dude was Fitzpatrick. No young guys that he developed, nobody at all. And he was a dinosaur at that point, and he's probably in an old home right now. So it was a weird hire then. It made sense that we moved on. And
you heard the story. You heard the story, right? The story goes that Flores actually approached Ryan Fitzpatrick and said, "Hey, do you know of an offensive coordinator that we should hire that can help us develop a rookie quarterback?" And it was actually Fitzpatrick's suggestion. And he brought over Robbie Brown with them, both guys from the Jets. And I love Fitzy a bit, but I feel
self-serving move.
Yup, he went into business for himself right then and there. Because, guys, Houtz, you sit in on the Zooms. How many times is Chan Gailey? Oh, Fitz is the reason I'm back. Oh, I love Fitzpatrick. And the worst thing about it, brother, was when Tua started running that hurry up offense, right? And then heading into the Kansas City after the Kansas City game or whatever, where he said, "Oh, I didn't know he could run it like that." And then the next week after that, he's telling the media, "Oh, I don't like that hurry up nonsense. I don't like that." Bro, you're not playing to your quarterback's strengths. And here's another thing. Why is no one talking about what Mahomes said after that game? Mahomes said, "I wish I was as efficient with Tua. I wish I was as careful as him as a rookie. I wish I played like that." Right? And then here's another thing. Everyone's taking Colin Cowherd or all these idiots to the bank with what they're saying. But why is no one taking what Kurt Warner did with his film breakdown to the bank? Why is no one taking what Dan Orlovsky's continuously defended this kid on to the bank? Those are guys who played the position. If you want to go out and say Dan Orlovsky's a scrub, go ahead. The fact is, Kurt Warner's a Hall of Famer who won the big one, and he came to the defense with a film breakdown and said, "Yo, this kid's got it. Keep investing in him."
I just think it's ignorant that we even have to talk about this. Why are we defending a guy that went 6-3? You know, the Dolphins just won 10 games. You know, they did something that we haven't seen in how many years. The whole Gailey signing, I mean, I think we all went to sleep. I know I did. You know, we were going after an offensive coordinator. I sat there, you know, okay, Joe Brady. You started naming off all these offense coordinators. You woke up the next day. It was fucking Chan Gailey. What year were we in? I could not believe they just signed Chan Gailey. I do think this was a 100% a Ryan Fitzpatrick move. And I do think we can all sit here and agree that playbook was completely different. I don't think we need to sit here and, you know, talk more about Chan Gailey, but that definitely hurt Tua's development. And I mean, you said it, Reason. He went out there and he executed that offense from a hurry up, you know, did everything that he showed on tape at Alabama, you know, execute things well, you know, pick part defenses. And then the next week, Chan Gailey basically say, you know, F that. I didn't like you going out there and having success. I'd rather, you know, scale things back a bit. So hopefully we see a lot different stuff here from Studsville and Godsey, because last year that definitely hindered Tua, in my opinion.
All right. So what are you guys expecting in year 2 from Tua in this offense?
For me, it's just much of the same that we saw at Alabama, as, you know, cliche and corny as that sounds. I mean, he's going to go out there. He's going to be that leader. I mean, we already see it this offseason. Every day he's posting a new picture. We're all getting thirsty as hell, seeing Tua getting jacked, you know, using a shake weight, whatever it is. He's going out there. He's organizing these he's organizing these off-season team activities. You know, he's going out there and getting the time in with these receivers. I think, you know, with this full offseason. We can't sit here and say it enough. Last year, what Tua had to do just to get healthy, just to be able to get in that same spot, to be drafted, to play football again. I mean, we all heard it. He might never play football again. He has that whole offseason now to get better. And now, this offense seemingly is going to be built around him, do the things that he can do well. I mean, you need to do that in order to have success here. But I think we're going to see that again, that guy that we all fell in love with, left arm of God. That's who we're going to see this year. And if we don't, I mean, well, I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah.
I'm expecting 5,000 yards, 40 touchdowns minimum. And if that doesn't happen, I'm pounding the table for Spencer Rattler. That's my proclamation. That's what I got. But in all reality, I don't.
You really will, though. You really will do that. You're gonna be doing a mock draft tomorrow, right after the draft, 2022 mock draft, where you'll draft Spencer Rattler just to piss everyone off.
Now I'm gonna make sure I do that with that. That's a good content idea, Houtz. I'm gonna make sure I do that. But as far as the stats go, I was talking on Twitter with Juan for 5 Reason, and just talking we were talking about stats. And
Clump's favorite person in the world.
Clump's favorite? Yeah, that's Clump's boy right there. But I don't want to go into the stats, but I'm expecting 3,500 passing yards. I think 30 touchdowns around here is pretty reasonable. But I'm not really too focused on the stats. Of course, I'm more so focused on him really being the Chris Paul of the offense, right? Dishing out the ball to his guys, hitting them in open space. Giving them best opportunity to get the yards after catch, super accurate throws downfield. I'm also expecting him to take more chances because we know that he could throw the deep ball. We know he likes to sling it. I just think he was being held back a little bit this year. So I would say one of my bigger expectations is him going downfield a little bit more. And he did actually go downfield a good amount. Let's be honest. There's a lot of advanced stats that say that he was efficient throwing the ball downfield, and he actually did take chances. I'm anticipating it to a higher extent.
Weren't you guys impressed? You talk about throwing it downfield. He was doing stuff that veterans do. You don't see it from rookies. Where look at the amount of flags he was drawing with Parker by just understanding the leverage. That if I put it up, he's either gonna catch it, or because he's got the leverage game on him, I'm gonna draw a flag. You don't see rookies really doing that. I mean, that shows the elite level he is from the neck up. And heading into last season, my expectations were, I believe it was 2,800 to 3,200 yards if he started every game. I expected 22 to 26 touchdowns, and then I expected under 10 interceptions. And if you actually extrapolate his number over the course, I basically would have got what I was expecting. So heading into this year, I expect him to flirt with 3,500 to 4,000 yards. I expect him to hit that 28 to 32 touchdowns, and I expect him to hover around 10 interceptions max. I think this guy's gonna, I think you're gonna see a leap from this kid, bro. I truly believe that. And we go back to that wide receiver room. What if a guy like Kirk Merritt works out?
He can jump on that one box really high, and I mean, they like we said, they have a dozen receivers here. I mean, competition is what this entire regime is built off of. You bring in competition, eventually the cream's going to rise. So I see no reason why Kirk Merritt. I mean, you want to be an NFL wide receiver, now's your chance, man. Go out there and do things. But I think you guys it's hard to sit here and say statistically, okay, he has to hit this parameter or this. I think you guys are right in that ballpark. But I just want to see progress from Tua. I mean, you can see that he has the potential to, like you said, Reason, be elite. We saw it at Alabama. We saw hints of it last season. I mean, again, this all goes back to how the hell could someone sit there and say, Sam Darnold deserves another chance with Joe Brady when Tua, after 9 games, the verdict's closed on him. It makes no sense. And, maybe it is just like Sordi said, we're just cursed as Dolphin fans, and, we're doomed.
Are you guys worried about the duo of offensive coordinators? Because if you go back in 1985, the Rams had 2 offensive coordinators, and it took the 85 Bears to beat them in the NFC Championship. They were 1 game away from the Super Bowl. We see Kyle Shanahan does it. We see what's his face? Kyle Shanahan does it, and so does I'm drawing a blank. The other head coach that everyone loves, the innovative offensive coordinator.
McVay, is he still one of them?
McVay, boom. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, so like, are you guys worried at all about this? Like, my only question is who's going to be calling the plays. But I think Flores tipped his hat because I think you were sitting on that Houtz, right, when he said if Chan Gailey went down, it was going to be Stoodsville, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Are you guys worried at all about having two offensive coordinators? Or are you guys believe in this team and the vision?
It's definitely something to be concerned about, but you listed off some of those guys that have had success. They are offensive minds, but like you mentioned, Reason, I do think he tipped his hat, and I do think Studsville could be that guy in this situation. But I mean, to me, the dilemma happens when, Studsville's going out there and this team's not executing. The offense isn't putting up points. Then you take the play calling duties away from him and give him to, Godsey, and then that opens up, Pandora's box. And then, in my opinion, the shit all hits the fan. So I don't know how it is, but I think we can all agree that I'd much rather have these two co-offense coordinators, no offense, than a Chan Gailey this year.
This is tough. This is tough because I'm a little bit worried. And I'm kind of viewing it like a full 1-year tryout for the permanent offensive coordinator position. Because I don't really know if two OCs is going to work for more than 1 year. I think one of these, like, it's a weird dynamic. I think one of these dudes would probably move on, right? Like, I don't know, is two OCs going to work for more than a year, man? I like with them both having the same title, it feels to me, and how to kind of touched on it, like maybe Flores like takes the reins from play calling from one to the other if it starts to hit like if it starts like to decline a bit. It's a weird dynamic. I'm a little nervous here, but I do have confidence. For some reason, I have the blind confidence and optimism that Flores will be able to manage the situation effectively and get the best out of the offense with these two offensive coordinators.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys, let's finish this off. Quick lightning round. Well, not lightning rounds. You can go. Gut feeling. What do we do at 6?
I'm going to stick with Devontae Smith. I mean, like I said, this whole podcast, I think you can't pass on Kyle Pitts. I mean, that guy to me is just a Megazord, just a whole different breed. But I still, in my heart of hearts, for some reason, I've never been confident in a Dolphins draft pick. Just for some reason, I just think, it's been set for a couple months now. Devontae Smith's the pick. So I'll stick to that. Devontae Smith at 6.
Sordi?
I'm going Kyle Pitts. Think it's Pitts. The matchup nightmare he poses is very hard to pass up. I'm going to go with the theory that Greer had intel that Falcons are either trading out and someone's taking a QB there, or they'll go QB. Then Bengals were thinking Chase or Sewell. And Flores was around the Patriots offense all those years with the two amazing tight ends, 12 personnel. So I'm gonna say Pitts.
I'm gonna be the guy who cops out. I think both of you are right. I think it's gonna be Smith or Pitts. I think that's who I think they're locked in on, one of those two guys.
So then who do you got? I'm taking an 18 Reason since you copped out.
Yeah. I don't think they're gonna take a running back. I think they're gonna take an edge rusher.
Aziz?
I'm hoping it's Aziz.
He's a beast.
But if Micah Parsons falls, I think they're running up to that podium for Micah Parsons. If Kwity Paye falls, you got to think about Kwity Paye too. I think they're going to take an edge player. And the only way that could throw that off is, I think, if Micah Parsons falls. I don't think they're going to take a running back at 18. What do you guys think at 18?
I think it's gonna. I guess I think it's gonna be a running back. I mean, that's a cop out. I mean, I even think we should be talking. Maybe it's a little early for a center here, but I think that's kind of one of those positions. I think you can almost guarantee the Dolphins are going to take in the first 2 days. I mean, we see this class. We know. I'm sure Reason. I mean, I always kind of delegate to you because I'm not an offensive lineman, never will be. I'm not in the trenches, or I study a little bit here, but I'm not truly in and know what some of these guys are. But I think the Dolphins need a center. I think if they get a Creed Humphrey, Dickerson, we all know Miners. The list goes on. Whoever it is, they need to bring that guy in to learn behind a Square or whoever it is, because I do believe that the way this offensive line is, we all saw promise, and that was the whole thing. We talked about offensive line, and Dolphins fans got into it with the media. The offensive line looked much better than it has in years past. That's all we were saying. They need a center now. I think they need to get a center. So I don't think that's a position that we talk about enough at 18, but that's a long-winded way to say I'm going to go with Najee Harris at 18.
I like that. As far as 18 goes, it's always good to bring in competition. So the 4th rated QB on Chris Sims' big board, Kellen Mond, I'll say he's the pick at 18.
Yeah, okay.
But I'm an idiot. In all seriousness, I'm gonna side with you. I think if what did he say? Pitts at 6 and Parson 18. If it happens, like at a Finside, I'll hold you to it. I'll hold him to it for sure.
I would love to see that. I mean, I was gonna say get on
I
your
don't
ass.
have
Can
your
you say that? Sorry.
No, you know what I told him yesterday? I said, if we draft Pitts, I want you to get a Pitts tat. And he said, I will. And I said, I want 8 on the right cheek and 4 on the left cheek. All right. That's what I want.
I was gonna do the Randy Moss thing, but I'm out.
By the way, Martin says Megazord is a hard nickname, Josh. That is a hard nickname. Sordi, sorry. Continue on.
Where's I going with that?
You're talking about Kellen Mond at 18.
Yeah, fuck that.
What do you like about him? You saw that
tall.
one throw he made. That was a hell of a
He's
throw.
just tall. That was a good throw. I'm not gonna lie. But reason I'm leaning your side. I think if we're for all intents and purposes, we're going offense at 6, whether it's Pitts, Smith, Chase. Even if we take Sewell, which I don't think it's going to be anymore. Offense at 6. I think Flores is going to want one of his guys at 18. Mm-hmm. I would be surprised if we double down on offense in the first. I think it might be a dude like Azeez Ojulari, maybe Kwity Paye.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. That's the only reason why I'm saying edge, because I actually kind of lean with Josh a little bit here. I think running back makes a lot of sense to get ahead of those guys. I just don't buy that they're going to draft 2 offensive players in a row. Mm-hmm. It's just something in me, I don't believe that. You know what I mean? And hey, they did it last year, so I mean, what can I say, right? So, they drafted 3 offensive players out of their first 4 picks. So Noah Benogany was the outlier there. Shout out to Jeremy Klump, Justo, and Milton A. Bird for becoming new members tonight. Enjoy those emojis. Smash those Chan Gailey sleeping emojis as much as you can right now. I don't know if you guys have YouTube open, but I got emojis people can use. So I got Josh Rosen in a pool with his girlfriend and stuff. Classic.
Shit. I keep seeing the text jump up on there, but it was just the font, so I must not be signed in or something. That's very disappointing to know that I'm missing out on those.
You can go back and watch the live chat because when we were talking about, look at all the
there
games.
They are. Yeah, it's just these on my.
Yeah, if you open up YouTube, you'll see it. If you open up this in YouTube,
I will do that. That is amazing.
Yeah, I
gotta check the site real quick. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, anything else, boys? Anything else you want to cover before we get out of here?
Thank you, everyone that listened to us. I mean, we just talked for an hour and a half about the Dolphins. So if you listen to this, thank you so much.
Yeah, same thing here. Thanks to all the listeners. It's always great to jump on the show, Reason. Houtz, it's always great to talk to you. Just sit back and bullshit and talk about things. It's always a good time.
Yeah, we got 394 people in the room right now. So awesome. we're definitely gonna have to do this again sometime after the draft before the season. But guys, the floor is yours. Go ahead and plug anything you have coming, your podcasts, et cetera, et cetera. Go ahead, plug them.
Sordi, you go first.
All right, mine's short and sweet to the point. On Twitter, I'm at Phinsider. I just brought back the Phinsider podcast again. We're back and better than ever. Nice. We're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just Phinsider. Search it up. Tune in. Let me know what you think. I always love constructive criticism. That's about it.
Yeah, for me,
you got to go check it out because he always rips on us. So go check him out.
Both of these guys are awesome follows. But for me, I'm Houtz, Houtz. Follow me on Twitter. I write for the Phinsider, do a podcast for them. Also write about sports games for Operation Sports. But most importantly, I love the Miami Dolphins, and you'll find me tweeting about them almost every day. Yeah, and Houtz. Well, first of all, Sordi is one of the funniest guys on Twitter. But Houtz, he always during the season and even right now, he always drops clips. He always provides all 22. He's known for the baby bottle. So go check both of these men out on Twitter. Go show them some love. Both do fantastic work. Go check out their podcast too because they're both, next to, I would say, you two
and 3 yards per carry are the only podcasts I consistently check out, man, because you guys do great work. Also, I consider you my friends, and I think 3 yards per carry does great work too, but you guys are right up there with them too. So, guys, I will probably be back tomorrow night. I'll keep you all posted on what goes down, but I'll probably be back tomorrow night. I got my running back big board will be coming early next week. As usual, top 5 will have film attached to them, and then the last 5 will have 6 through 10 will have evaluations attached, and then I'll do my honorable mentions of 11 through 15. But until next time, guys, y'all already know what time it is. It's Fins Up all day, every day, baby. I hope y'all stay happy, healthy, safe, and blessed during these like wild times we're all going through. But guys, we are only 21 days away from the NFL draft. It's creeping up here. So, and here's another plug because I still got 361 people in there. Yo, NFL draft. Jeremy Klump, Kevin Dern, Dante Colonelli will be popping in and out. Mr. Ball Game. Who else? I know I'm forgetting some other people. Ryan Roberts of Rise and Draft will be here. So we're going to have some of the best the best draft coverage on YouTube. So make sure y'all check us out April 29th. I'll be live for every single day of the draft. So yeah, again, Fins Up all day, every day, baby. We'll see y'all next time.